Today we're going to talk about and demonstrate proper tree planting technique and procedures, as well as factors to consider when selecting the proper site for your tree. This here is a Cortland apple tree, and it'll grow upon maturity to about 12 to 15 feet in height with a comparable spread. It's a great backyard choice because it grows fruit, provides food, shade, animal habitat, and has a great aesthetic look to it as well. Things you want to consider with any tree is its mature height and spread. So there's two things, your above ground and below ground considerations. Some trees can grow to be over 100 feet tall and long and columnar. Some can branch out and be quite wide in their growths. Overhead lines, houses, fences, anything else that might impede the full development of the tree need to be considered. The best pruning is often done by picking the right spot at planting, so you don't have to prune that often. Comparably, underground, you need to have room for, the tree needs space for roots, ideally a couple cubic meters or more, depending on the tree. Again, large trees require more space underground, and you don't want to be too close to infrastructure or anything like that. It's not very common that a tree will cause damage to a foundation or something. The roots are just not able to do that, but if there is an existing crack or something to get into, you might want to consider planting farther away from the house. Before you dig a hole for your tree, you should be aware of any buried underground utilities. You can do this by doing a BC1 call. A BC1 call was done in this case, and the homeowner was aware that there was no gas lines or electrical or anything like this. But you never know when you put a shovel in the ground, and here we found an abandoned old irrigation line or something to that effect. So there are always surprises under the ground. Dig with caution. Okay, so now we have our hole prepared for this tree. So we've got nice sloping sides. Good wide hole, you want it wider than your pot, and we're going to check for the proper depth. An easy way to measure the depth is just to lay a shovel across the top and check the depth with another one. As you can see here, ideally we want the root collar to be flush with the top of the soil. It's very important not to bury a tree too deep because that can kill a tree. So right here we're doing actually not too bad. I might add a little bit of soil just to bring it up to level a little bit. Once you have the hole prepared, it's time to get the tree ready for planting. So grab the pot. It's always best to handle a tree by the pot and not to pick it up by the stem. Make it over here and tilt it over where there's room. And we're going to proceed to pull the tree out of the pot. If the tree is really root bound, you might need to squish it around the side, or in some cases even cut the pot off. But usually it just slides out pretty easy, just like this. The next thing you have to do is massage or cut or spread out these roots, because they're growing around in the pot. If you plant it just like this, they're going to continue to grow in a circular fashion, and the tree's never going to extend out the proper roots it needs to grow and collect nutrients. Okay, now that we've got these roots loosened up, the tree's ready to go in the hole. Now this one wasn't super root bound, so a lot of material fell out. We may have to remeasure for the proper height when we get it in the ground. We're going to set it in here, stabilize it a bit. Keep loosening those roots wherever you see them. And we're going to take our shovel and we're going to check the height of this again. So that's pretty good. I might want to bring it up just a touch because we did lose some material off the bottom of this. To do that, you can just slide some material underneath this side, slide some material underneath that side, and there we go. So the next thing before we start putting soil back is we want to make sure that the stem is nice and straight in all directions. Handy way to do this is just to hold your shovel with one end and let it hang loose at the bottom. You can try to check and see, just eyeball how level the tree is. Okay, that's looking pretty nice and straight. And just maybe once more visual look just to make sure the branches are going in the directions you want them to. This tree looks pretty good to me. If you've got good soil, it's not totally necessary, but at this point it might be good to consider putting in some sort of amendment to the soil. Recommend possibly bone meal or a mycorrhizal inoculant like I have here today. You want to be sure to rub this around the root zone of the tree, making direct contact with the roots, because that's how the fungal makes proper associations and will grow and spread from there. Now we're going to start backfilling the tree. To do this, we're just going to use most of the parent material. It's always best if you've got decent parent material to use that, because it's got the fungi and bacteria that are naturally present in the surrounding soil. So we'll just start filling around the root ball. We're just going to clean up the surrounding grass and add all the parent material back here that we can. We may have to add a little bit of potting soil, but we have a couple bags here just in case. And we just want to make sure that we don't bury this root collar. If the root collar is buried, it's going to open the tree up to some rot and decay and eventually cause problems for the tree. And the last thing we want to do for this tree is make a nice little tree well for it. It's going to help conserve soil moisture, and it's going to provide nutrients. As the organic matter decays, it's going to be all you really need to give this tree the nutrients it needs. And a good mulch can be, this is wood chips, gone through a wood chipper. It's a nice organic mulch. You can also pick up leaves after they've fallen in the fall, make great mulch. You know, we want to pile this about 2 to 4 inches high. Again, keeping that root collar clear. A nice circle away from the tree. Now this is a little happy tree is ready to go. So we picked a really good time of year to plant this, February. It's while the tree is still dormant. Lots of natural water coming from the sky. Just maybe a last word upon the watering requirements of a tree like this. It's important that you give it long, slow waterings in the heat of summer. Once or twice a week. Twice a week if it's really hot and dry. Not just a surface watering, but you really want a trickle to penetrate that whole root zone and leave it run for a good while. One option is these watering bags. You just wrap them around the tree, fill them twice a week in the worst drought, once a week any other time, and they take about 24 hours to drain out and give that long, slow, deep water that the tree needs so its roots go down looking for water. It's a great way to get your trees established. And for more information on trees, you can always visit our city website.